News.
Make it fun.
MIP.
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson. Get woke.
Folks, once again, we welcome you to a special edition of Make It Plain on this Sunday evening. We thought it'd be very, very important to hear from our good friend and about all the great work she's doing with regards to election protection, with regards to protecting our voting rights. She is the president and executive director of one of our legacy civil rights organizations, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Our dear sister is with us, Kristen Clarke. Kristen, how are you?
Doing okay, holding up, and good. Feels good to be here.
And it's a pleasure to have you. The hotline is set up. People can use that number, the 866 number, can't they? If they have any questions or concerns leading up to Tuesday, or if they're early voting, or if they run into any problems on Tuesday. Right, Kristen?
That's exactly right. So our election protection program has been humming 7 days a week. And, you know, this is a unique year. It's unique for a lot of reasons. It's unique because of the pandemic, because of voter suppression before the pandemic, because of voter suppression that's intensified after the pandemic. And so we're getting all kinds of calls, people who are trying to understand some of the 11th hour court rulings and how they may be impacting their voting options in their particular state. We're getting calls from people who, you know, say, I requested that absentee ballot a long time ago. It hasn't gotten here yet. What should I do? We're getting calls from people who are saying, okay, I got the ballot yesterday, but I'm not sure if I drop it in the mail, that's the best thing to do. So right now we're helping people work through all of those kinds of questions. We're helping people understand if early voting opportunities are still, you know, up in their state, letting them know what the deadlines are. And most importantly, we're empowering people and gearing them up for Tuesday. Those people who are planning to go vote in person, we're making sure that they know where to go, what the polling hours are, and are armed with, you know, everything that they may need to be able to successfully vote.
This is not the first time the hotline's been set up. We're seeing large numbers of people early voting. Do the number of calls into the hotline, Kristen, also suggest that these numbers are larger than usual? In other words, are you getting a greater volume of calls as well?
Absolutely. We've actually shattered records in terms of just the sheer volume of calls that we're getting and the intensity of problems that people are calling us with. So let me give you, you know, just a comparison. In 2016, we got roughly 150, 160,000 calls for the entire calendar year. In the month of October alone, as of Friday, we had gotten 115,000 calls. So this is a record-shattering year for the election protection program. I'll share another number with you. You know, we usually are supported by about our team at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law is kind of the backbone, but we rely on legal volunteers. And usually we've got an army of about 4,000 to 5,000 legal volunteers supporting our effort. As of Friday, we have 42,000 legal volunteers supporting the program. 42,000. So we are ready. We're ready for Tuesday and anything that Tuesday might bring. We're ready for anything that may lie beyond Tuesday. This is one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, and we have fought tooth and nail to make sure that we have all the resources that we need to support voters who've been going out and trying to overcome the pandemic, going out and voting in historic numbers during early voting, voting for the first time, vote by mail. We really have focused on making sure that we can help each and every person out there who wants to make sure their voice is heard in this most important election.
In terms of what might happen Tuesday and beyond Tuesday, you have any thoughts about what could happen. I think from some indications from some of the Supreme Court cases, and even from what Trump has been saying, they intend to try to stop the count in some states where mail-in ballot counting traditionally goes beyond maybe even midnight on election night, correct?
You know, for the only people who kind of sort of stop counting are the journalists. The networks that try to call the electoral outcome really early. But the truth of the matter is that elections don't get certified for days, if not weeks in many states. So this notion that we're going to know the electoral outcome by midnight is a fallacy. It just doesn't happen. There are about 22 states that will count ballots that are postmarked by election day and received up to some period of time after the election. So they're going to be election officials working well beyond Tuesday to count ballots that will count before they certify the results. And then there are the military and overseas voters who get a really long window of about a week, or if not more, beyond Tuesday to have their ballots get into officials. So all of those ballots, all of them have to be in hand before the results get certified. And then the process goes over to the Electoral College. So, this fallacy that it all wraps up on election night is just, false. And the one thing that we're telling the public is to be patient. We may not know the outcome for races at the top of the ballot all the way down for days, frankly, because 2020 is a year like none other. It's a year where people have had to put lots of ballots in the mail, and it's going to take time to get through all of those ballots. You've got states that won't even start counting those ballots until election day itself.
Mm-hmm. Are there other possible legal scenarios that you anticipate arising, and are there certain states that may be hotspots and more susceptible to legal challenges from the Trump administration? Have you all and all of your attorneys been looking at that?
Yeah, well, for us as civil rights lawyers, we're not in this for the political, angle. We're all about protecting Black voters, voters of color, and frankly, all Americans, and making sure that everyone's voice can be heard. And so what we're bracing for is the possibility of emergency litigation on election day or beyond. If anyone, any operative or any group or entity, tries to disenfranchise voters, we are, poised and ready to fight back if necessary. The states that are hotspots are the states that are always hotspots: Georgia, Texas, North Carolina. Texas right now, we are involved in litigation. You may know that they're trying to reject about 130,000 ballots cast by curbside in Harris County, Texas. This is one of the most populous counties in the country. Large number of Black and Latino voters, voters with disabilities, voters who, because of the pandemic, chose to vote by curbside. It was an option that officials made available to them. And now you've got operatives that are trying to get those ballots disqualified. And so we're going to fight back. Graham, North Carolina. This is a place where there was a peaceful demonstration yesterday, an organized march to lead people to the polls, and law enforcement, fired pepper spray on this crowd of peaceful, largely Black demonstrators. There were children there, and there were some people who were locked up and not able to vote yesterday. So these are the kinds of things that we're going to keep our eye on in this final stretch. And we're going to do all that we can, including mounting litigation if need be, to make sure that every voice is heard and to beat back the 11th hour voter suppression attempts.
Lastly, Kristen, I guess a little bit beyond Tuesday, the Supreme Court is about to hear another challenge to the Voting Rights Act, or what's left of it, correct?
Yes, a case out of Arizona, and we're deeply concerned about this case. Justice Barrett, during her hearing, says, she can't concede that voter intimidation is illegal. She can't concede whether or not voting discrimination is an ongoing part of our reality in the country. So, we're deeply concerned about this case. The Voting Rights Act was, gutted in 2013 with the Shelby County decision, and this Arizona case stands to take aim at another core provision, the Section 2 provision, which applies nationwide and bars jurisdictions all across the country from undertaking action that can diminish the voice of voters of color. So it's a case to keep an eye on for sure.
Has the Lawyers Committee taken a position yet on expanding the court?
We have not, but we think it's going to be high time to figure out how we reform some of the breaks in our democracy. How do we restore balance to the Supreme Court? How do we re-diversify the courts? We know that under the Trump administration, there have been major setbacks when it comes to racial and gender diversity on the bench. So these are important issues that warrant all of our attention when we get a chance to catch our breath after this election season.
Kristen, as we go, please give the final charge to those watching, to the audience, not only to get out to vote, but to call you
Yes.
line if they have any concerns.
Yes, don't wait a moment longer, right? We're down to the very final home stretch here. I want to ask people to take out their phones right now and plug this number in, 866-687-8683, 866-687-8683. If you have not made a plan to vote, now is the time to do so. Now's the time to figure out, is there still an opportunity to early vote? Now's the time to figure out, is there, still a chance to get an absentee ballot? And if so, do not put that in the mail. Return it to a drop box or to local officials. And now's the time to make your game plan for election day itself, making sure you know where to vote and the time to vote and what's going to be on the ballot, all the way from the top to the bottom as well. So 866-687-8683. 866 Our Vote. We're going to be on deck 24 hours a day on election day to help every voter until that last ballot gets counted.
Kristen Clarke, President and Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Folks, again, 866 Our Vote. Friends, loved ones, relatives, what have you. Reach out to them, make sure they're good, make sure they're voting. They have any concerns, they can call that number. The experts are there waiting and can tell you everything you need to know. And again, just for the record, it's too late to go to the mail, folks. So if you've got that absentee ballot, find out if there's a drop box. 866 Our Vote can tell you that. Go to your polling place, drop it off. If there's an inside envelope, and be sure or make sure whether it asks for a signature or not. A lot of stuff being sent back because people don't do the signature. Follow those instructions, but 866 Our Vote can help you figure all of that out.
One more thing. Do not believe anything that may pop up in your inbox or some robocall that you get imparting false information. Sometimes you see a lot of those shenanigans in this final stretch. Call our hotline for trusted and accurate information. Anybody who's saying, oh, they're going to use your information in ways to harm you, or you know what, you actually vote on Wednesday, not Tuesday. They want to ease the line. So don't believe any of those 11th hour efforts to derail you. Let's stay steadfast in the goal of marching to the polls this season. Indeed.
Folks, have your cell phones out too. A group of people called from Florida. They would say there was some kids out there, some white kids with baseball bats, but they didn't video it. I said, y'all pull out the cell phone. We need to see that evidence and something's going on so we can let lawyers know and figure out what's going on.
And call the local media. They'd love to come on and film those folks.
That's right. That's right. Kristen Clarke, President, Executive Director of Lawyers Committee. Kristen, we thank you for joining us on this Sunday night.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark, and for all that you do.
Thank you for all your hard work. Don't forget, folks, 866 Our Vote.